with Sensei John Hanratty at his Shikukai dojo just about 4 blocks east of Chinook Center in Calgary. Thank you for joining me today. Can you tell me a bit about how long you've been teaching karate in Calgary?
Yeah, I've been teaching karate in Calgary for 45 years. I've been training for 55 plus years, but I've been teaching in Calgary for 45 years since I came over to Canada in 1980.
Right, and can you tell me where you came from in 1980?
Yeah, I came from Liverpool, England. I was a member of the Red Triangle Club. It's quite a famous club in the UK. Lots of very famous karateka were there. I was just lucky. I walked into probably the best club in the UK with the best instructors, which is probably one of the prime things you should look for if you're taking up karate. Look for a good instructor. Mm-hmm. There's loads of different ways of doing that, but the first relationship is always with the instructor. If you don't like the instructor, it doesn't matter how good he is, you're not going to train with him.
And can you tell me more, what is a good instructor in your books?
Knowledgeable, experienced, understanding, motivational, inspirational, just all the good things that generally make up a good coach in any recreational activity. With karate, it goes a little bit deeper. We have a philosophical side that's it's a big part of it. Makes up a lot of the character of the people who are training, and we tend to focus on that. It's probably one of the hardest recreational activities. It will really exercise every muscle you've got, and then some you didn't know you had.
Can you tell me more about how Shotokan karate might differ from other martial arts that are offered in the city?
Yeah, it basically, there's lots of martial arts, and they're all going the same way. It's just that you're following different paths, and it's whatever suits you. What you've got to be aware of is the longevity, how long you want to practice for. Like, I've been practicing for 55 years, and I'm going to be 80 in a few weeks, and I'm getting ready to take a couple of classes tonight. I won't teach him, but nevertheless it does take up a fair bit of energy and takes a lot of training. Yeah. So longevity, you want to look for how long you're going to do it. You want to ask yourself why you're doing it. We stress a lot of self-defense, and it's valuable and it's applicable. It's not sport. If you're into the sport stuff, you're probably going to pack in by the time you're 25, 30. It's like most high-energy sports. You don't tend to run on too long. Certainly not if you're into, say, MMA, unless you're going into coaching. So,
yeah, before I ask you more about the training that you offer, can you tell me a little bit about what attracted you to it at first? You mentioned you've been training for 55 years.
Yeah.
So you were in your mid-20s, I take it.
Yep.
So what first drew you to it?
The challenge, and also I'd boxed as an amateur and as a young man, and I realized I was never going to be a world champion at boxing, but I liked it. I liked the training in boxing. It's quite demanding. But it's restrictive. Now, you can be a very good boxer and still look after yourself very well. I don't put any martial art down. They're all good in their own way. But boxing's basically 6 punches, and the rest is footwork and a combination of those 6 punches. Jab, hook, cross, uppercut, that kind of thing. Now, Liverpool in those days was really rough, and I was in a profession where you were pretty open to that. I used to have a taxi cab fleet. I say fleet, there was 5 or 6 cabs, but it was a fleet to me. And I'd drive at night when I didn't have when a driver took a night off, so I'd drive. And it's pretty precarious occupation in Liverpool. We were looked upon as more of a means of making money than you were as a transport system. And Liverpool was pretty much put down in the 70s and 80s. The unemployment rate was very high. It was a downtrodden city. It's a beautiful city now. It's one of the top spots in Europe. It got European City of Culture not so long ago. But they've done a lot to it to bring it back up. There's still parts that are rough as hell, but, that's the way it is with most port cities. If you look at New York, you got the Barry or the Bronx, and Liverpool would be like the Bronx times two. So
let me be clear. You're saying that as a taxi driver in Liverpool, you were on a regular basis at risk of getting robbed, and you used your fighting skills to defend yourself?
Yeah, you got into a fight at least once a week.
Oh, wow.
Minimum. And what karate did was it gave me a lot more options and made me a lot more aware. I was always pretty fit guy. I'd been in the Army, I'd been in the Merchant Navy, so I was fit, I could handle myself. But it did give me a lot more options, and psychologically, I think it made me a lot more confident. I mean, I was always confident anyway. I'm not very big, I'm pretty old now, but I've still got a lot of confidence, and I try to put that across to my students. Confidence is the best thing you can give somebody. If you're not confident, you're prey, right? And I don't want anybody to be prey from this dojo anyway.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's the age range for your students, and so what's the youngest that they can start at, and what do you think parents are looking for when they bring their kids to a place like this?
Well, there's different things. Parents generally have a whole different idea about karate than I do, and we have to kind of dissuade them from that. They'll bring a kid along and say, oh, well, he needs discipline. Well, that's your job. That's the parent's job. What you should be doing is bringing me a kid who's coachable, who wants to be here, not getting dragged here because his parents can't handle him, and who wants to progress and be proud of what he's doing. And, that's my job. I motivate him to be proud. I build up his leadership skills. We teach him resilience. We build his strength through adversity, because you're not going to win every time. You're not going to pass every examination that we hold. And in fact, we got a couple of kids on the floor who failed examinations last week. We generally take in kids about 4 to 5 years old, and they go in a different class, Little Tigers class. I don't do that. I don't teach Little Tigers. I only teach bigger kids. For years and years, I wouldn't touch anybody under 10 years old. Even that was a little bit young. You got to know your left and your right. You got to be coordinated, and you got to own up to your own mistakes and be prepared to make them, and own them.
And you've touched on this a little bit, but can you talk more about what you believe karate can do for kids?
Yeah, it can instill in them a lot of self-confidence and self-discipline. It's all very well teaching discipline, like you got to stand in a straight line, you got to kneel down when you come into the dojo, you got to bow and all that. But that's just ritual, right? The real discipline comes in showing up and training as often as you can, and going over the stuff that you've learned and absorbing it, basically breaking apart and making sure it works for you. Now, not everybody is as flexible as everybody else, which is a big thing in some disciplines like Taekwondo. You've got to be flexible to do your high kicks. Not everybody's flexible. Not everybody's got a lot of body strength. But everybody's got certain motor functions that we can utilize. And plus, what we like to do is bring on your attitude if we can. If we can give you a good attitude to life, then you're going to get through it a lot better than somebody who hasn't got a good attitude, who thinks everything is laid on a plate. You're going to find that it's not. So we try to build strength through adversity, because it's the best way of building strength, right? We teach resilience, so if you fail, you're going to try again. And we teach them the right way, and I make sure it's the right way. It's not going to harm your body, and it's not going to hurt you. Most of the people who pack in karate do so for psychological reasons. They can't take the mental side of it. Nothing to do with the physical side, although the physical side in the early years is very demanding. You're probably 85% physical, 5% mental. As you go on and you go further on, it starts to flip. But it's like any discipline. If you're brushing a road, for example, if you're a road sweeper or you're brushing your yard, you brush it every day. At the start of it, it's probably 85% physical. By the end of the week, you've worked out a little system and you know where the muck accumulates or whatever, and you're going to find it gets easier and easier. And your muscles go through a learning cycle where you pick different things up. And when you do something a lot, you get familiar with it. The more familiar you are with it, the more economic you're going to be. You're going to be economical with your movement, but you're still going to produce the same result, and that's what we're after: efficiency of movement. So we teach, basic body mechanics, fundamentals, body fundamentals, a lot of physiology in it. If you're into it a lot, you'll get to study the human body. You'll get to find out how it works, why yours works the way it does, while somebody else's works different. And you just get to accept it. Yeah, you can probably hear the class going on here.
Yes, I hear that the class has gotten underway there. Maybe one final question for you, Sensei, is just after 55 years of teaching and training karate, what do you still get out of it? What still do you find rewarding about it?
I find it's the mindfulness of karate. Like, people talk a lot these days about mindfulness and peace of mind. When you're on the floor, when I'm in the dojo and I'm on the floor, whether I'm teaching or I'm training, whether I'm in the line or I'm out front, it's like bringing my mind to the dry cleaners. Nothing else in the world's going on. I'm not worried about the politicians, the idiots, everything else that's going on. All I'm doing is trying to get my techniques right, trying to make sure that everybody else gets their techniques right, bringing them along in the best way possible, and giving them the benefit of 50-odd years' experience, if I can, hoping I set a good example, because if you got a bunch of kids in a line, they're all going to be looking at the kid next to them to see who's doing it right. Hopefully, I'll be the example that they'll look to rather than the kid next to them. This is why kids get into trouble. It's peer pressure. We try to get them out of that, and you're responsible for your own actions. And if you're working at being responsible for your own actions, if you're working at getting your techniques better, everything you can to the satisfaction of yourself and your instructor, then you're not going to be thinking about anything else. It's going to take your mind off all of that. So you go out refreshed. You're going to be pleasantly tired. I was like, when I came back from the gym yesterday, I felt deliciously tired. I did a whole bunch of weights, and then I did a swim. Now, at my age, it was quite a lot, but I felt absolutely mellow. And that's the way I am when I come off the floor. So I look forward to coming and doing. I can't train as much as I want to nowadays. I've got different things. Your body gets old, breaks down. But I don't think it's going to break down as quickly as it would have done if I hadn't been training. So,
Well, I should let you get to your class, Sensei Hanratty.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing a little time with me today.
No problem.